I'm Jake, 57M, a software engineer turned project manager at a mid-sized tech company. I have two adult children, Liam, 29M, and Sophia, 25F. Their mother, Sarah, passed away when the kids were 16 and 12, respectively, after a 2-year battle with cancer. It was a devastating loss for all of us, and it took years for us to find our footing again. Sarah and I met in college. We were both computer science majors, bonding over late-night coding sessions and dreams of changing the world through technology. After graduation, we got married and started our careers at the same startup. Those early years were tough but exciting. We lived in a tiny apartment, worked long hours, and spent our free time brainstorming app ideas. When Liam was born, Sarah decided to scale back her work to part-time. She always had a knack for balancing work and family life. I, on the other hand, threw myself into my career. I climbed the ranks quickly, moving from programmer to team lead to project manager. The money was good, but the hours were long. I often missed family dinners and school events, something I deeply regret now. Sophia came along 4 years later, completing our family. Those were happy years, despite the work-life balance struggles. Sarah was the glue that held us together, always finding ways to make even mundane weekends feel special. She'd organize family coding challenges, where we'd compete to create the silliest app in an afternoon. Liam and Sophia loved it, and I thought for sure they'd follow in our footsteps in the tech world. Everything changed when Sarah was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. The next 2 years were a blur of hospital visits, experimental treatments, and trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy for the kids. I took a step back at work, using up all my leave to be there for my family. We drained our savings and even took out a second mortgage to cover the medical bills. Sarah fought hard, but in the end, the cancer won. Her death left a gaping hole in our lives. Liam, a teenager at the time, became withdrawn and spent more time gaming to cope with his grief. Sophia, still in middle school, clung to me desperately, afraid of losing another parent. I did my best to hold it together for them. I went back to work, putting in even longer hours to pay off our debts and secure our financial future. Looking back, I realize I might have used work as an escape from my own grief, leaving the kids to fend for themselves emotionally more than I should have. As the years passed, we settled into a new normal. Liam graduated high school and started college, studying computer science like his parents. Sophia excelled in high school, particularly in her media and communications classes. I felt like we were finally on the right track. But things took an unexpected turn when Liam dropped out of college in his second year. He announced that he was going to become a professional gamer, streaming on Twitch full-time. I was shocked. We had countless arguments about it. I couldn't understand how he could throw away the opportunity that his mother and I had worked so hard to provide. Liam moved out shortly after, determined to make it on his own. He couch surfed with friends for a while before finding a small studio apartment. I watched from a distance as he streamed for hours every day, barely making enough to cover his rent. Despite my disapproval, I found myself buying him groceries or helping with bills when things got tight. Sophia, at least, finished her degree in communications. But instead of pursuing a traditional career, she decided to become a lifestyle influencer on Instagram. She moved in with her boyfriend right after graduation and spent most of her time taking photos and making videos. Her follower count grew slowly, and she struggled to monetize her account effectively. I tried to be supportive of their choices, remembering how Sarah always encouraged the kids to follow their passions. But it was frustrating to watch them struggle financially while refusing to consider more stable career paths. I suggested countless times that they look for steady jobs while pursuing their dreams on the side, but they always brushed off my concerns. The situation came to a head during our Thanksgiving dinner this year. It was always a bittersweet occasion since Sarah passed, but we tried to honor her memory by continuing her traditions. This year, I had prepared her famous pumpkin pie recipe, and as we sat around the table, memories of happier times filled the air. We were catching up on each other's lives when the topic of their late mother came up. Sophia, picking at her pie, asked if their mother had left them anything in her will. The question caught me off guard. I explained, for what felt like the 100th time, that their mother hadn't written a will. The cancer diagnosis had been so sudden, and in the chaos of treatments and hospital stays, legal matters had taken a backseat. What little savings she had in her personal account were used up during her illness. Liam, who had been unusually quiet throughout dinner, suddenly perked up. With a half-joking tone, he said, "Well, at least we'll be set when you kick the bucket, right, Dad? You've done well for yourself." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What do you mean by that, Liam?" He shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Come on, Dad. We know you make good money. When we inherit it, Sophia and I will be fine. We can really focus on our careers then." I was stunned by his assumption. The casual way he talked about my death and their inheritance felt disrespectful not just to me, but to the memory of their mother and the struggles we had been through. In that moment, all the frustration I had been holding back came rushing to the surface. I put down my fork, took a deep breath, and decided it was time for some tough love. Let me make something very clear, I said, my voice low but firm. If you two continue on your current paths, you won't be inheriting anything from me. The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia's eyes widened in shock, while Liam's face flushed red with anger. I continued, I've worked hard for everything I have. Your mother and I struggled for years to build a stable life for this family. I can't in good conscience leave my hard-earned money to you if you're not willing to work for your own success. Sophia was the first to react. That's not fair, she exclaimed, tears welling up in her eyes. You're supposed to support us, not threaten us. Liam stood up abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. This is bullshit, he spat. You're trying to manipulate us with your money. Some father you are. I remained seated, trying to keep my composure. I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to motivate you. I love you both, but I can't enable these unrealistic lifestyles anymore. You're adults now. It's time to start acting like it. The argument escalated from there. Sophia accused me of never understanding her, of always pushing her towards a life she didn't want. Liam brought up old grievances, claiming I was never there for them after their mother died. It felt like years of pent-up resentment were pouring out. In the heat of the moment, I said things I'm not proud of. I called their career choices childish fantasies and told them they were wasting their potential. Liam stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Sophia left soon after, mascara streaking her cheeks. I was left alone in the dining room, surrounded by half-eaten pumpkin pie and the ghosts of happier Thanksgivings. As the anger faded, doubt began to creep in. Had I been too harsh? Would Sarah have handled this differently? Since then, both of them have been giving me the silent treatment. Liam blocked me on all social media, and Sophia only responds to my texts with one-word answers. I've tried reaching out, inviting them over to talk things through, but they're not interested. I stand by my decision about the inheritance, but I'm starting to wonder if I approached the situation all wrong. Should I have been more understanding of their dreams? Am I holding them to unfair standards because of my own experiences? I miss the days when we could all sit around the dinner table and laugh together. I miss the easy relationship I used to have with my kids. But I also worry about their futures and can't shake the feeling that I'm watching them make huge mistakes. So, Reddit, be honest with me. Am I the asshole for being blunt about their inheritance and trying to push them towards more stable careers? Or am I just a concerned father doing what he thinks is best for his kids? Update 1. It's been a couple of months since the Thanksgiving blow-up, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give an update on the situation with my kids. After weeks of silence, Liam finally reached out to me. He asked to meet for coffee, and I agreed, feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. We met at the local diner where we used to have our father-son breakfasts when he was in high school. Walking in, I was hit by a wave of nostalgia, remembering the gangly teenager who used to inhale stacks of pancakes while excitedly telling me about his latest coding project. The Liam who sat across from me now looked tired and stressed. His hair was unkempt, and there were dark circles under his eyes. As we talked, he confessed that he'd been struggling more than he let on. His streaming career wasn't taking off as he'd hoped. He had a small, loyal following, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. He was falling behind on rent and had maxed out his credit card. We had a long, honest conversation about his future. I listened without judgment as he shared his fears and aspirations. He admitted that he missed the sense of accomplishment he used to get from solving complex coding problems. At the same time, he was afraid of feeling like a failure if he gave up on his streaming dream. I shared some of my own early career struggles, telling him about the startup Sarah and I worked for that went bust, leaving us jobless and in debt. I talked about the fear and uncertainty we felt, but also how we supported each other and eventually found our footing. By the end of our talk, Liam agreed to look for a part-time job in tech to supplement his income while he continued streaming. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but it was a step in the right direction. As we were leaving, he gave me a quick, awkward hug, the first in years, and I felt a glimmer of hope. Sophia, on the other hand, remained distant. Her Instagram posts continued as if nothing had happened, a stream of carefully curated photos showcasing a seemingly perfect life. But I noticed a change in her content. She started doing more sponsored posts for small local businesses, a boutique clothing store, a new cafe, a handmade jewelry brand. When I texted to ask about it, she reluctantly admitted that she was trying to monetize her account more effectively. She had taken some online courses on social media marketing and was making an effort to turn her hobby into a real business. I thought things were slowly improving, but then came Christmas. We had our annual family gathering at my sister Anne's, 55F, house. Anne knew about our Thanksgiving argument and had been urging me to make amends with the kids. She even invited Liam and Sophia's cousins, hoping their presence would ease the tension. The evening started off awkwardly. Liam and Sophia arrived separately, both barely acknowledging me. As we sat around the Christmas tree, and suggested we all share our plans for the coming year, a tradition Sarah had started long ago. When it was Sophia's turn, she dropped a bombshell. She announced that she and her boyfriend, Mark, had broken up, and she was moving to Los Angeles to pursue her influencer career for real. She had apparently been planning this for weeks but hadn't told anyone in the family. I was stunned. I asked her how she planned to support herself in one of the most expensive cities in the country. She vaguely mentioned collaborations and brand deals but had no concrete plan. I could feel my frustration rising again, memories of our Thanksgiving argument fresh in my mind. To my surprise, Liam sided with me this time. He told Sophia she was being reckless and that she should reconsider. This led to a huge argument between the siblings, with years of resentment bubbling to the surface. Sophia accused Liam of being jealous of her ambition, while Liam called her delusional. "At least I'm trying to make something of myself," Sophia yelled, tears in her eyes. "You just sit in your apartment all day playing video games. And you just take selfies all day," Liam shot back. "Real ambitious, sis." I tried to intervene, to calm them both down, but it only made things worse. Sophia turned on me, accusing me of always favoring Liam. "You never supported my dreams," she cried. "You always wanted me to be just like you and Mom, but I'm not." The evening ended with Sophia storming out and Liam retreating to his old room. Our relatives looked on in shocked silence, the festive mood completely ruined. I was left feeling like I had failed as a parent. How had we gotten to this point? What would Sarah think if she could see us now? I went to bed that night with a heavy heart, wondering if I had made the right decision in being so firm about the inheritance. Should I have taken a different approach? Was I pushing them away in my attempt to guide them? As I lay awake, I found myself talking to Sarah, something I hadn't done in years. "I'm lost here, honey," I whispered into the darkness. "I don't know how to reach them anymore. What would you do?" I didn't get any answers, of course. But somehow, just articulating my fears made me feel a little less alone. I fell asleep determined to find a way to rebuild my relationship with my children, inheritance issues aside. Update 2: It's been 4 months since the Christmas disaster, and the situation has taken some unexpected turns. Liam has made significant progress. Following through on our discussion, he found a part-time job at a local tech startup. To my surprise, he's actually enjoying it. The company is working on developing educational games, combining his passion for gaming with his coding skills. He's still streaming in his free time, but he's approaching it more as a hobby than a career now. We've been talking more often, usually over video chat while he's cooking dinner. He's trying to learn, with mixed results. I can see a positive change in his attitude. He seems more confident, more focused. Last week, he excitedly told me about a bug he'd fixed that had been plaguing the team for days. It reminded me of the enthusiastic kid who used to show me his coding projects, and it warmed my heart. Sophia, on the other hand, went through with her plan to move to Los Angeles. The first month, her Instagram was full of glamorous photos at trendy restaurants and exclusive events. She posted about networking opportunities and hinted at big collaborations coming soon. But as time went on, the cracks started to show. Her posts became less frequent, and when they did appear, I could see the strain behind her smile. Then, late one night, she called me. I could tell she'd been crying. She confessed that life in LA was much harder than she'd anticipated. The cost of living was draining her savings quickly, and the influencer scene was far more competitive than she'd realized. "Everyone here is beautiful and connected," she said, her voice small. "I thought I'd stand out, but I'm just nobody." I was tempted to say "I told you so," but I bit my tongue. Instead, I listened and offered what support I could. I suggested she consider coming back home and regrouping, but she insisted on sticking it out a bit longer. "I can't come back a failure, Dad," she said. "I can't prove you right." Her words stung, but I understood her pride. It was the same stubbornness that had gotten Sarah and me through our tough times. I told her I loved her and that I'd be here whenever she needed me. After that call, I found myself looking through old photo albums. There was a picture of Sophia at her 5th birthday party, dressed as a princess and beaming at the camera. Sarah had always said she'd be a star someday. I wondered what advice she would give our daughter now. Then, about a week ago, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Mark, Sophia's ex-boyfriend. He sounded worried. Apparently, Sophia had been calling him frequently, sounding increasingly desperate. Mark told me she had mentioned doing some questionable photo shoots for money and was hanging out with a crowd he didn't trust. "I know we're not together anymore," Mark said, "but I care about her. I thought you should know." I was alarmed by this information. I immediately tried to call Sophia, but she wouldn't answer. I even considered flying out to LA to check on her, but I wasn't sure if that would make things worse. Would she see it as support or as me trying to control her life again? I spent a sleepless night weighing my options. I thought about Sarah, about how she always seemed to know the right thing to do in a crisis. I wished more than ever that she was here to help navigate this situation. Just when I was at my most worried, I received a text from Sophia: "You were right. I want to come home." Those 7 words filled me with relief and anxiety in equal measure. I immediately called her, but it went to voicemail. I sent a text back telling her I'd buy her a plane ticket home whenever she was ready. I'm relieved she's coming back, but I'm also anxious about what state she'll be in when she returns. How do I help her get back on her feet without enabling the behavior that got her into this mess in the first place? I keep thinking about Sarah and how she always managed to be supportive without being overbearing. As for the inheritance issue, I'm still standing firm on my decision. But I'm starting to realize that maybe I need to focus less on the money and more on helping my kids develop the skills and resilience they need to succeed in life. Sarah and I didn't build our life on an inheritance. We did it through hard work and supporting each other. That's the real legacy I want to pass on to Liam and Sophia. I've started looking into family counseling options. Maybe having a neutral third party could help us communicate better and heal some of the wounds we've all been nursing. I don't know if Liam and Sophia will agree to it, but I have to try something. In the meantime, I'm preparing for Sophia's return. I've cleaned up her old room and stocked the fridge with her favorite foods. It's a small gesture, but I hope it shows her that despite our disagreements, this is still her home and I'm still her dad. I'll update again once Sophia's back and we've had a chance to talk. Wish me luck, Reddit. I'm going to need it. Update 3. It's been half a year since this whole saga began, and I wanted to provide one final update. Sophia has been back home for 2 months now. The day I picked her up from the airport was emotional, to say the least. The girl who walked through the arrivals gate was a far cry from the confident influencer who left for LA. She looked tired, her designer clothes wrinkled from the flight, and when she saw me, she burst into tears. The ride home was quiet. I had so many questions, but I could see she wasn't ready to talk. When we got home, she went straight to her room and slept for nearly 24 hours. I was worried, but I remembered how Sarah always said sometimes sleep is the best medicine. Over the next few weeks, Sophia slowly opened up about her experience in LA. The constant pressure to maintain a perfect image, the fake friendships, the financial instability, it had all taken a toll on her. She admitted to some of the questionable photoshoots Mark had mentioned, though she was vague on the details. I didn't press her, figuring she'd share more when she was ready. To her credit, Sophia has been making a genuine effort to turn things around. She found a job at a local marketing firm, putting her communications degree to use. While it's not as glamorous as being an influencer, she admits it's a relief to have a steady paycheck and some structure in her life. She's still active on Instagram, but now she uses it more as a creative outlet rather than trying to make it her sole source of income. Liam has continued to thrive in his new balance of work and gaming. His part-time job at the tech startup turned into a full-time position, and he's excited about the potential for growth there. He still streams on weekends, but he's found a healthier relationship with gaming. It's now a fun hobby rather than a source of stress and financial pressure. The relationship between Liam and Sophia has improved too. They've been spending more time together, often reminiscing about their childhood and sharing memories of their mother. It's bittersweet to watch, but it's healing for all of us. As for me, this experience has taught me a lot about parenting adult children. I realized that while I thought I was helping by providing financial support, I was actually hindering their growth in some ways. I've started to shift my approach from giving them money to offering guidance and emotional support. We recently had another family dinner, and the difference from our Thanksgiving disaster was night and day. There was laughter, open communication, and a sense of mutual respect that had been missing before. We even talked about the inheritance issue again, but this time it was a calm, mature discussion. Both Liam and Sophia said they understood my position better now and that they wanted to make it on their own anyway. I'm proud of how far my kids have come, and I'm hopeful for their futures. While our relationship isn't perfect, it's stronger and healthier than it's been in years. I'm glad I stood my ground on the inheritance issue, as it seems to have been the wake-up call they needed. But more importantly, I'm grateful that we've found a way to support and understand each other better as a family. Last week, we visited Sarah's grave together for the first time in years. As we stood there, Sophia quietly said, "Mom would be proud of us, wouldn't she?" I put my arms around both of them and nodded, too choked up to speak. In that moment, I felt Sarah's presence more strongly than I had in years, and I knew that somehow, we were going to be okay.